It has to be a family member or a relative,
Right.
a close relative.
Okay. It's a blood relation.
Oh, so we're serious.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know that at all.
Me either.
Right.
I thought you were saying a good joke, and it's like, so some random stranger couldn't.
Nope.
Invest in no.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
What
It
if
has
you
to
like
be close
trace some sort of lineage to make it to where they're related?
Because in
That's
some
the-
ways we're all related.
That's what we talk about when we say fraud.
Okay.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
There's this thing called a straw buyer. A straw buyer is basically a person utilizing you as an individual to buy a property, because some people cannot afford or don't have the credit to get a property. So we look at that as a stranger giving you funds is a way to buy that property through you, essentially.
Right.
So that's basically
Got it.
the fraud that we're talking about.
Mhm.
So it's important that a family member is the one that's giving you the funds, because realistically, that's who's going to give you the funds for you to buy the property. And that's probably 98% of the time. You know, the 2% we're willing to take the risk on, that the strangers are not going to give you your money out of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically gathering the funds. But there are, recently, since we're in California, there are down payment assistance programs out there where you don't have to put down payments, essentially. So there are programs to that effect. So you really want to talk to a loan officer and understand that if you qualify for those type of programs, because those are really driven based on income and location of the property. So it's very specific to an individual that's a first-time home buyer and a person that has a certain income limitation. So, for example, a person that's making $200,000 a year would probably not qualify for a program that's designed for a first-time home buyer. Whereas, because we're trying to really get people into these homes, these are people that are working class, saving money, or living paycheck to paycheck, but they want to basically own a home, essentially, and not rent, because as you're renting, there's no tax benefits, there's no equity being built, essentially. So these are things that we really want to.
And you never get that money back. It's not invested into anything.
Absolutely not. You're just making somebody else rich.
Exactly.
Basically.
You're paying their rent.
We don't like that.
That's right.
Yeah. So you really want to improve your equity situation as we all grow older. So we want to have something to fall back on. It's really hard to save big dollars, such as $50, $60, $100, $200,000 as we earn funds, as our paychecks come in. But it's easier to build that position with equity. So let's say, had you bought a property in 2009 when prices were really low, and then right now you could have had a 50, 60, 70, 100, 200. Some people have millions of equity in their property because they bought the property at the right time. So in this case, I would say if that person liquidated that property, they would have that much cash essentially sitting in their account. Whereas if you rented all that period of time from 2009 to now, you missed out on an opportunity, basically. So.
Right.
Yeah. And when equity, you mean the payments that have been paid towards it?
So no,
I don't even know what equity means.
Well, there you go. That's a good idea. So yes, as you pay back your balance, you're building equity along with as values appreciate.
Got it. Okay.
It's creating equity for you without you even doing anything at that point in time.
That's nice.
So certain things like watches. If you buy a really collectible type of a watch, it builds equity and it appreciates in value for you, and the same with a home. Unfortunately, renting does not do any of that stuff. So.
It's like renting a car versus buying one.
Right.
You don't own it, so you have no. Most cars don't appreciate, but the ones that do, the classics that do, it's that mentality. Yeah.
That's interesting. It's hard to think of my car right now as being a classic.
No, it's
like I would never view it as a classic. Like isn't it 25 years that a car has to be around for it to be considered a classic?
I
have no idea.
I am not.
I have no.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I actually have
That's your
idea.
opinion, right?
That's my opinion. Yeah.
It sounds like a good number, though.
It does. It sounds like a good number.
I think there is a thing for that. But anyways, I guess another question is, so you have your credit figured out, and then you have the down payment. But for me, I don't know what the first thing I would do in terms of who would I approach. I guess is a better way of asking.
So I would basically ask your family members, first of all, because they'll tell you which mortgage lender they used last time around.
So now you're looking for referrals of who to help you purchase your home.
Exactly. Or if you're online, sometimes, I'm not a big fan of online researchers, but, Yelping might be a good idea. Or doing some research online to see who has great reviews.
Got it.
Because reviews, they're being done organically by, consumers.
Right.
So you really want to know who has had good experiences with a particular individual. So I would really start with that as far as finding a mortgage banker. And I'm going to explain the terminologies between a banker, a broker, and a bank, basically, as well, too.
Things I don't know.
Yeah. So in our world, there's a brokerage world. There's also a banker world. And then there's also the bank itself. There's some misconceptions of them all, basically, and they sometimes get all lumped in together.
That's right.
But, a broker basically is a person that is the middle person between a bank and the consumer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A banker is the individual organization that will give you the funds, basically, but has multiple access, just like a broker, to many different banks. Such as a broker has access to multiple different banks, so does a banker. Banker basically has all the different programs from different banks, but they will lend you the money themselves, and then they will basically sell the loan off into the, I'm going to use big words right now, and I'm going to say secondary market, which is basically quote unquote Wall Street. So what we'll do is we'll sell it off to Wall Street or Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and these are companies that you've heard throughout our, but they're basically organizations that buy loans from bankers and also banks. But banks have very specific loan types. If you go to a bank, let's say you walk into the big name brand banks, they will have a set of a set of programs, and they will say, this is the only programs that we have, and that's a take it or leave it kind of a thing. Right. Whereas a banker will have assortment of programs and will say, hey, we do Cal HFA, we'll do FHA, we'll do VA, we'll do all these different programs that we'll talk about in a few minutes, but they will have an array of programs. And so does a broker, but a broker is going to basically be the middle person and not be able to make decisions for you.
All right.
So in a sense, I'm basically saying a banker is probably the most appropriate place to go to get a loan, just because you will have a decision made for your loan right there and then, and have the best of all worlds as far as all the loan programs that are out there.
And also the control. I don't see brokers having the type of control to when things start to, if anything shows up that's outside of what was thought to be in the first place, they don't have the control to be able to sit down with the underwriter or whoever is making the decision to have any influence on that decision. They're basically just a middleman.
Oh, wow.
And all the decision making is made from the entity that they sent that loan to.
So they're just the messenger.
They are.
Yeah.
So they're gathering your information. They're basically giving it to another institution saying, can you make a decision on this individual?
Right.
And if they decline it, they have to come back and they have to give it to another institution to make a decision on for your
So basically their hands are tied. They couldn't do as much as
a banker would. So a banker, you hand your information to a banker, they will walk over to their underwriter and they will make a decision right there and then. And if it doesn't fit a certain box, they will find a certain other box for you to put into, essentially, as far as the different loan program that's available out there.
Right, because they have a wider variety of loan programs.
Now, a bank, you'll do the same thing. You'll walk into a bank, they will walk over to the underwriter, and they will have a decision made, but they will not have an alternative. If it's declined, then it will be declined, and you have to go to a different bank at that point in time. And see if they have a program that would fit your needs, basically.
Right.
So,
oh, wow. Yeah, so you would be doing a lot more work.
So it's a one-stop shop kind of a thing, as well as, being able to, get the best rates and programs out there for you. So, banking, Archon Financial in the beginning in the early 2000s was a broker, and it evolved to become a banker.
I was going to ask that.
Correct. So, and many companies start off that way. They don't just start off as a banker, just because back in the early 2000s, banking was not as prevalent per se, just because you could have accomplished the same things as a banker that you did as a broker, but things have really changed since the regulations have changed in 2010 and going forward. And, you really are very limited to what you could do as a broker and then a banker, basically.
Right.
So speaking of that, so you have to find a correct banker. In this case, an Arkansas Financial employs multiple loan officers.
That's right.
And including Charline. And so therefore, there's a lot of subject matter experts. We have people that are focused on 203K programs. There are people focused on, commercial loans, things of that nature. So if a person actually needs a particular loan type, we specify a particular loan officer for them as well, so they have expertise.
That really is like a little boutique.
Right.
Is that what you were equating it
Yes.
to? Yeah.
I would definitely use it a boutique environment as an analogy, just because that's how we treat everybody. When they walk in, it's just more of like, what do you feel like? What's specialty and whatnot is what we're looking for. But most everybody's cross-trained in what they do at Arkansas Financial as well too, so they understand the different programs as well too. So, but if it's out of their wheelhouse, it would be brought over to an individual that would basically understand the like for example, I'm going to use the 203K is a very specific loan type.
Yeah.
Not everybody understands that program.
I love that program.
Yes, and Charline is a subject matter expert of that as well too.
I love that program. Yeah, it gives a first-time home buyer the ability to buy a home that they may not been able to buy, or in a neighborhood they may not have been able to buy because they're buying a home that might require some work. But the good thing about the program is that they don't have to do the work themselves, and the work that's done can be rolled into the loan, and they have someone who will oversee the project for them, so they're not responsible for overseeing the project themselves either. So,
wow,
yeah,
that's really nice.
It is. And it's a program requirement. So, it takes a lot of the pressure off of the person purchasing the home to know things about construction and renovation and all of that. They can hire a professional to do that and know that there's going to be someone overseeing that professional who's doing the work for them, to realize that the work that they said they were going to do, they have to do it. There's a time frame, a time limit, and the quality of work has to be there because they have an oversight person paying attention and watching and making sure. So it's
That's
a great
relieving.
program.
If I were,
Yeah. So it's like watching a caterpillar turn into a butterfly, because they'll buy this home and it may not be the most attractive home on the block, and then they'll be able to do the work on that home to make it attractive to what they think is beautiful. And as long as it fits in the guidelines of the program, hey, they got a nice house and they customize it themselves.
And why I like that program is because, and we talked about this a minute ago, is appreciation and equity. You create immediate appreciation and immediate equity, just because now you've taken something that was worth less and added value to it by just doing a simple amount of work, basically, to the property. Most people are not able to embark on that, or they don't see past the hurdle of developing the property, or making or beautifying the property, I should say. But there's so much value into it, basically.
Yeah, because that sounds like an exhausting project, but the way you just described it,
it makes it a lot less.
No pain, no gain.
Yeah. But you brought up a great point, because sometimes people shy away from that program, or shy away from the labor part of it, because they just want to get the keys and move in. And but if you're in, if you want to add value to a home that you're buying and get the instant value of it, yes, and you're not actually physically doing the work yourself. The biggest I think the biggest part of the work that you'll be doing is choosing the contractor, which we have to vet them anyway, and then deciding what you want to do with that house. Those are the biggest decisions you have to make. Everything else is really
the second part is like the fun part.
That's the fun part, exactly. And then which tile you want to put down, or what carpet you want, or what color walls, and so that's the fun part. And then the professional does the work, and then you, as the home buyer, you don't have to be so concerned about overseeing the project yourself. If you're not a contractor, you're not sure exactly, you're not an expert in that field. So what they're doing to your house, you have to trust that they're doing what they said they would do if there's no one overseeing the project. But with the renovation loans, there is someone overseeing that project.
So it gives the TV show Flipping Out. Is that what it is called?
The
change the house.
Well,
it's
imagine
like a
that
thing of that, where you buy a kind of fixer upper. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Correct. Except you live in it.
Except you have
to. You live in it.
Yeah. That's the difference. But you can buy something that may not be as attractive and make it attractive.